you what consecutive integers. Hey, bud, come on. All right, I'm walking around. Let's make sure everybody's got their notes out. Guys, 2, 3 notes. You should already have them opened up. You should go straight into Notability and have them, or on paper, pencil. You have a doodle and you're back on paper.
Yeah, paper.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, so everybody good now? Everybody's there?
Thank you.
You're on the right note. Just scroll to page 2.
Oh,
All right. Okay, here we go. So we're going to have what's called consecutive integers. What does consecutive integers mean? What's consecutive? Let's start there. What's consecutive mean?
Repeating.
Repeating? Not really. Consecutive. If you get consecutive touchdowns, or if you get consecutive shots made in a ball game, what am I talking about? Consecutive. In a row, okay? So one right after another, right? If we get consecutive touchdowns, that means we got a touchdown, and we turn right around and somehow got another touchdown, right?
so like
Okay?
-1 and -1.
No, -1, -1 won't be the same number. We're talking about like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Consecutive. Okay? So when we're talking integers, we're talking whole numbers, okay? So when I look at consecutive integers, so an example, let's just say I start on 22. What would my next number here be?
23.
23, then what?
24.
There you go. And also, okay, consecutive integers. Now, what if I change it up and I said consecutive even integers? Give me an example.
22, 23.
Okay, he says starting at 22, 24, 26. That makes sense? Okay. What if I said consecutive odds?
21, 23, 25.
There you go, good. Okay. And this is what I'm talking about when I say consecutive integers. Okay, consecutive integers. So it's integers in counting order, one right after another. Okay, so let's write that down.
What was the second one you said?
We're going to put this over here in a second. Give me that here. Okay, so consecutive. Integers. And just for clarification, we're talking about whole numbers. Okay, we don't care if they're positive, negative. But integers in counting order. I gotta write that off to the side. It's right underneath here. Okay, so integers in counting order. Now, we have 3 different types. All right, so our first type, we're going to have just consecutive integers. Okay, so consecutive integer, I'm abbreviating. And when we're talking about consecutive integers, we're talking like 22, 23, 24, 25, etc. ... just means it keeps on going. Okay? We have then what you guys just talked about, consecutive even. So 22, 24, 26. And then the third type we have is consecutive odd. Again, what we just talked about, 21, 23, 25. Okay? So this is an example of what we're kind of talking about here, consecutive integers. Okay, some of you guys are going to have to write a little faster. I'll move to paper notes, which are going to be your 2 options. Okay, so on our first example here, it says find 2 consecutive integers with a sum of 21. Okay, so it's 2 consecutive integers, sum of 21. Alex?
10 and 11.
Perfect. So we know that 10 plus 11 would be 21, right? Consecutive, one right after another. So we've got the answer, but what we need to do is provide all the work, because it's not always going to be that simple. As we start looking down here, all of a sudden we have 4 consecutive of 172, 3 consecutive negative 51. So it's not always going to be as easy as this first one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a process that we're going to be able to use every single time so that you can get to the right answers. Okay? All right, so find 2 consecutive integers. We already know the answer. I'll just kind of put it off to the side here in blue. So we know that it's 10 and 11. We know that these are our numbers. Okay? So what we need to do first is we're still going to be defining variables. Okay? Now your variables will be dictated by how many they tell you you've got. So I have 2 consecutive. So we're going to start out. Our first integer, everybody should be writing, and our second integer. Okay? Now, no matter what, our first integer will always be equal to a variable. Any letter, I don't care. Okay? So I'm going to make it x. It could be a, n, I don't care. It will always be this way. Okay? Now, your second integer just depends on what's going on in this problem. What are we, if we look back up here, when we're doing consecutive integers, what are we increasing by every time? 1, okay? So down here, we're going to increase by 1. Hence 10, 11, right? We've added 1 to it, okay? So this is going to be kind of your setup every time. We're going to set it up the same way, all right? Now, let's break down what this word means. Sum means what?
Add.
Okay, so we already talked about add, right? And yes, parentheses, but we don't need them in this case, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to add up these 2 guys to get to a total of 21. Okay, yes, sir.
Isn't there like a third thing?
Not in this case, there's only 2 consecutive, so I only have 2.
Oh, the next
Okay, just depends how many there are, that's how many you're going to write here, okay?
one.
Yes, sir.
My equation is x plus 1 equals 21.
Close. Okay, he says his equation is x plus 1 equals 21. He's really close. What is he missing? Yeah, you got to add both of these up. Okay, since it says sum, we're going to add. So what I'm going to do is we're going to add up, and we're going to have the first guy x, and then the x plus 1. And I put this in parentheses just so you can see. All we're doing is adding these 2 guys up, and the answer is 21. Okay? All right, so now, some basics here. How are we going to solve this equation? What do we do when we've got 2 x's on the same side? What is x plus x? 2x. All right, so we're going to write this as 2x plus 1 equals 21. So we're just combining like terms right there. I'm just putting my numbers or letters together. Okay? All right, so now this is solving equations. This is review from last week. What do we do now?
Subtract 1 on both sides.
Good, so we're going to start by subtracting 1. Jalen, write down, please. So 2x equals 20. And then what would be my next step here? Good, divide by 2, right? So x equals what?
10.
Okay, so x equals 10. All right, so now, because it's not always going to be as easy as this one, I'm going to show you how we get to our other answers, okay? So if I know that x is 10, so I'm plugging it in back up here. If I know this is 10, I've got 10, and then what is 10 plus 1? 11, okay? So I've got 10 and 11 are our solutions, okay? All right, so let's walk through it again. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, so now on this next one here, it says find 3 consecutive. And this time we're going to talk about odds, okay? But how, so if I'm writing 3 consecutive, oops. All right, guys, so what should I be writing here?
First, second, third.
First, second, and third, okay? So since you have 3, you're going to write it down 3 different times, okay? So I'm going to put first integer, second integer, and third integer. So setup is the same every single time. Okay, what's always my first integer going to be equal to?
X.
Okay, any letter, x will do. Okay, now we have to be careful here. It says consecutive odd. So let's look at an example of our consecutive odd right here. Okay, so here's our consecutive odd, right? Okay, now on the last problem when we said consecutive, you said this was x, and then I'm adding 1 to it, getting plus 1. All right, and then if I really wanted to keep going in the pattern, I would add x plus 2, and then I would do x plus 3. Does that make sense? Okay, so now if I'm looking at this and I call this x, how many are you adding from here to here?
2,
X plus 2. Okay, what are you adding from 21 to the 25?
4.
X plus 4. You're counting by 2's. Okay, I don't care if it's even or odds, it's what are you counting by? We're counting by 2's. Okay, so now if I had this pattern keep going, what would the next one be? The fourth one if I asked you for a fourth one?
Plus 6,
Plus 6, what about a fifth one?
plus 8.
Okay, you see the pattern? Okay, now, we're going to talk about this real quickly, we'll come back to it. Let's look at your evens. So if this is x, Colin, what's this next one going to be?
24.
You're not paying attention, you're sleeping. Pay attention. So if the first one is x, how many am I adding on to the next one here?
X plus 2.
X plus 2, good. All right, what about from here to here? What are we adding?
X plus 4.
X plus 4, and so if I kept the pattern going, what will be the next one? Not 8.
6.
There you go, 6 and then 8. Okay, so look at this guy. What do you guys notice about these two guys right here?
Positive side.
They're the exact same thing, aren't they? Okay, so evens and odds are going to be set up identical. Okay, so off to the side here, we're going to make a big note of that because that's really important and you guys are going to mess this up. All right, I'm going to tell you right now, it happens every year. Okay, big red note. I'm going to kind of put it right here with these two. Even and odds are set up the same. Okay? And so it's going to be x, x plus 2, x plus 4, etc. Okay? So it doesn't matter. Evens and odds are going to be set up the exact same way. Okay? All right, so now with that being said, if I know that this is x, what will my next one here be?
X plus 2,
X plus 2, and then what will the next one be?
X plus 4.
Very good. Okay, so even and odds are set up the exact same way. Okay? All right, so now I'm going to add them all up, right? Because isn't that what the word sum means? Sum means add them, okay? So I'm going to take x, the x plus 2, and the x plus 4, and add them all up. Okay, and that should equal what in this problem? Good, negative 51. Okay, now combine like terms. How many x's do we have here? 3 x's, so 3x. And then 2 plus 4 is 6 equals negative 51. Okay, does anybody have a question on that so far? David?
How did, oh wait, are we not done with it?
No, we're not done.
Okay.
We don't have an answer yet. We got set up though. Okay, so what are we going to do to solve this now?
Subtract 6 on both sides.
Okay, so we're going to start by subtracting 6. Got to solve the equation. So 3x equals negative 57. Does anybody know how many 3's going to 57? A lot. All right, so let's put 57. Let's put a 3. So how many 3's going to 5? 1.
19.
Oh, whoa. That should be a 3. So you get 20, drop down to 7,
19.
and then you get a 9. Okay? So we're going to get negative 19, right? We're going to divide by 3. Erase that, I forgot to do my division. Divide by 3, so x equals negative 19. Is everybody okay with that? Positive divided by negative is a negative? Okay, so now, just like we did on the last one, let's go back and plug in our numbers. Okay? Let's go back and plug in your numbers. So you're going to get negative 19 here. I'm going to put a negative 19 in for all these x's. Okay? So I have negative 19. Now, what is negative 19 plus 2?
Negative 6.
Negative 17. Good. And what's negative 19 plus 4?
Negative 15.
Negative 15. And those would be your 3 numbers. Now, what is a quick way to make sure that your answer is correct?
Analog.
And they should equal negative 51 in this case, right? So if you add these up and they equal 51, you've messed up somewhere. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, I want you to take a second, and I want you to start on number 10, define your variables only. Okay, so on number 10, go ahead and define your variables, and then stop. Let's make sure you do that part right first.